Hello, everybody. My name is Jake Hoyle. I'm a Senior Vice President at EB5AN. Welcome to today's webinar. I am joined today by Finn Reynolds from Lawfully, who was kind enough to join us today to discuss EB5AN and Lawfully's recent partnership to provide AI-powered immigration case tracking data to EB5AN's EB5 investors all over the world. Lawfully is a large immigration case tracking platform used by over 2.5 million individuals worldwide. And today we're going to explain what Lawfully is, how EB5AN, EB5 investors can optionally use it to monitor their own EB5 petition progress, and why our two companies' partnership helps to improve transparency and reduces the risk of investors missing case updates, and just generally helps everyone stay on top of what's all going on. So yeah, Finn, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Jake. It's great to be here.
Great. So just a quick compliance note for everyone. This presentation is not legal or investment advice. It's for informational purposes only. As always, we encourage you to engage your own professional advisors and attorneys for legal and investment advice. Any forward-looking statements here are obviously speculative, and all EB5 investments are at risk. So with that out of the way, this is what we're going to cover today. I'm going to give everybody a brief overview of EB5AN as a company, give you all my background as well, and Finn will introduce himself and let us all know what Lawfully is doing, what the company is, and how investors can benefit from their services. We'll dig into the details a little bit, and I'll wrap up by just covering quickly EB5AN's current urban and rural EB5 projects. So just to start, EB5AN is a leading EB5 investment fund. We were established in the early 2010s, been in business for over a decade. We've worked with 1,000+ investors all across the world, have a little over $1 billion in AUM at this point. We have over 10 USCIS regional centers that cover all 48 US continental states, plus Puerto Rico and Washington, DC. We have a 100% regional center approval rating with USCIS. And we've worked with EB5 investors from all over the globe. So many investors, of course, coming from China and India, but we've worked and helped investors obtain green cards and I-526 approvals from all the countries you see on the screen. So we've got a very wide base of clients who have worked with us in the past. We've been featured in a number of reputable news sources here. And again, my name is Jake Hoyle. I'm one of the senior vice presidents at the company. Been working in EB5 at EB5AN for nearly 10 years now. It's always a surprise to hear that, but it has been a long run. I've been with the company for a very long time and seen us grow very quickly over the last few years into, again, one of the leading companies in the industry. For background in finance, I was a Associated Credit Agricole. Did my summer at Jefferies Group in fixed income sales and trading. Was on the US Olympic team back in the day as a fencer, and have a bachelor's in economics and business management from Columbia University in New York. So with that, I will introduce our guest panelist from Lawfully, Finn Reynolds. So Finn, why don't you give everyone on the webinar a little bit of your background and touch on Lawfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jake. So I'm currently director of market research at Lawfully. I've been with the company for about a year. Before that, I've been in the corporate immigration space for essentially my whole career. I've worked at some of the leading corporate immigration law firms, BAL, WR Immigration, which obviously has a big EB5 practice as well, and then also at Envoy Global, which is one of the leading corporate immigration tech companies. I got my BA from George Washington University. I had a couple of stints inside the government and in organizations that are around the government when I was living in DC. And so I host, as part of that, and some of the relationships that I've built inside and outside of the government. I host a biweekly meeting for immigration practitioners, so immigration lawyers, in-house HR immigration folks, to connect them with top policymakers and operators from USCIS and DHS, and really help them keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on inside of the concrete buildings of Washington, D.C. when it comes to immigration policy. Lawfully's been around since 2019. We launched as originally as solely a mobile app for individuals to get better insight into their cases that we're processing with the government, primarily with USCIS, but we've expanded to other government agencies as well in cases that are processing there. The app, the mobile app, blew up overnight, and as you referenced at the beginning, we've had almost 3 million individuals track their immigration cases through Lawfully, and we've tracked over 6 million cases at this point. So that gives us gives us and our users, both individuals and organizations like EB5AN and law firms and other companies, the ability to access that data that USCIS doesn't necessarily make public, to see what the processing trends are for different case types. USCIS, of course, has their own case tracking page, and one of the reasons why so many individuals and businesses use Lawfully is because that case tracking page isn't always the most reliable, and there are a lot of sort of user difficulties that come with it. And we try to make that process as smooth and as transparent as possible through Lawfully for all of our users. And part of the reason we're able to do that is because we have one of the most robust APIs with USCIS, so we're connected directly to their servers, and we're able to provide that same level of information that they provide and more to our users.
Perfect. Yeah, of course, we've been working with you for a little while here, and we've seen how powerful the tool really is and how helpful it can be to help individual EB5 investors and law firms track case statuses. So we'll dive into some of the details there momentarily. But before we move on, I just want to say, you're working at Lawfully, obviously, which works across all immigration, right? Law, all kinds of different petitions, but you have EB5 specific experience from your time at WR Immigration, which for any EB5 experts listening, we all know is one of the leading immigration attorney law firms in the industry. We know Joey Barnett over there very well. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your EB5 experience and how that kind of helps you at Lawfully deliver a great product to investors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as investors know very well, many of whom may have had some exposure through other parts of the U.S. immigration system, through maybe non-immigrant visas like the H-1B or immigrant visas that aren't the EB-5. The EB-5 is a very different program, and I learned that. I cut my teeth in that during my time at WR working with Joey. He's obviously an amazing source of information on the EB-5 and how to help investors work through the legal part of that process vis-a-vis the government. And Joey does a ton of great content, really, helping investors and potential investors who want to pursue the EB-5 understand what the landscape is, how it's changing, and where sort of the future of the program is going.
Awesome, perfect, thank you. So then let's quickly give an overview of just the partnership here between EB5AN and Lawfully, and what our investors can expect from the service, right? So at a high level, we've kind of partnered with you to help our investors track their immigration cases, right? You guys are a third party, unrelated to EB5AN service provider that, a platform basically that we've engaged to provide secure and automated case status updates to our investors. On our end, participation is optional and completely free of charge to investors. They have access to these benefits at no cost. And EB5AN is just committed to providing as much transparent information as we can. The EB5 process can be challenging. It can be stressful, especially when you're waiting, maybe perhaps longer than expected for an update on your case. Personally, I'm aware a lot of investors are putting their receipt notice into the USCIS online case status update search on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. And that's kind of what motivated us to partner with Lawfully to make sure that everyone has the most up-to-date and the most accurate information possible. So Finn, why don't you give us just an overview of kind of at a practical level, what happens when, an EB5AN investor or one of your clients opts in and inputs their, receipt information into Lawfully and, what they can expect.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there with the example of investors that you work with who are every single day putting their receipt number into the USCIS tracking page to try to get an update on their case. That really was the core problem that we were solving, first for individuals and then later on for organizations who, like EB5AN and law firms who are supporting individuals in their case. You all in the EB5 process have sort of the part of the process that you help investors with. Then the lawyers have the legal part of the process that they help investors with. And then there's this big process at the very end where it's sort of a black hole. And that's when cases are pending with the government. And there isn't a ton of information that the government provides. And what they do provide, they create a lot of friction in terms of having to manually check for updates on cases. And sometimes those updates can be incredibly important. It could be a request for evidence, right, that requires action on a case from both an individual and from a lawyer who's maybe supporting that individual. It could be an approval, it could be a denial, it could be all sorts of different updates. And so what we did at Lawfully for individuals and now for organizations supporting individuals is we wanted to make that process a lot more frictionless. And so by inputting your receipt number, USCIS receipt number for your case, or if you have multiple cases, you can put multiple receipt numbers in. You sort of get two benefits. One, you get automatic case status updates. There's a variety of ways that you can receive those updates through the app, via email, through different sources as well, so that as soon as there is an update on your case from the government, you're the first to know. You get access to that information. And then the second, as sort of laid out here on the screen, is because we track cases for so many individuals, for different individual case types, we're able to provide advanced analytics on sort of the trends for that specific case type to help folks who are waiting for their case while it's pending with the government to really understand what those timelines are, what the next step might be, and just again provide a lot more transparency than what has been traditionally provided by the government and has never really needed to have been owned by companies or by law firms supporting those individuals because it just wasn't part of their process. And that's why it's really amazing that EB5AN provides this service to your investors as through Lawfully as part of the overall service that you provide to them.
Yeah, thank you, Finn. And of course, these updates, at least on our end at EB5AN, are going to be used alongside our typical communications. So, all of our reporting, that's all unchanged. This is just a new added benefit on top of all of the transparent reporting that we're already providing to our investors here at EB5AN. So let's touch on a specific point, Finn. When an investor or someone who's tracking a case is opting into this information, what kind of personal information do they need to input, right? Or is this really just receipt notice and no other information needed?
Exactly. It's really straightforward. We make it as easy as possible for the user, where the main piece of information that we need is the receipt number, so that we can use that receipt number to ping the USCIS servers and get the updates as frequently as possible. We also need to understand what the case type is, right? Because a receipt number doesn't necessarily correlate directly with a specific case type. So if you're filing a I-526 or you have a pending I-526 or an I-485, we just need that information so we know what other cases we can group it into and compare it to.
Perfect, and it's completely secure, right? No need to put any sensitive personal information in, no specific details on the actual case that may have been filed with the government. This is really simply a receipt notice check.
100%. Yeah, we don't need to know any personally identifiable information about our users. This is just for those users to be able to access these insights. And for us, it's all anonymous on our end.
Awesome, great. And you touched on it for a moment earlier, but as you mentioned, EB5 investors often have more than one case that they're tracking at a given time. Maybe, you know, an I-526E and an I-485, for example. So can you talk about Lawfully's benefits there and being able to track more than one petition at a time?
Yeah, absolutely. Different petitions will sometimes USCIS will adjudicate certain petitions together. Other times they have different timelines, they have different milestones, they have different requirements that may pop up and require action on the part of the investor or the legal counsel that's supporting them. And so by being able to track multiple cases in one place, you're able to sort of in one unified app, you're able to see everything that might be required from you or from your legal counsel as those cases progress with the government. And then alternatively, it's not relevant for everyone, but if you have dependents, family members who you're filing cases for as well that might be tied to the principal case, you can track those in Lawfully as well. Because again, unfortunately, the government sometimes will process those together, and other times those are processed on different timelines and different offices with different milestones, et cetera.
Right. Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And one last thing before we move on, I think that the speed of this service is really something that's incredibly valuable to investors, to our clients. So can you talk a little bit about just how quickly investors will be able to access any case updates that may be posted on USCIS, and how they can kind of trust the data they're seeing and how Lawfully ensures accuracy?
Yeah, it's a great question. So as I mentioned before, we have an official API with USCIS. And so we're pinging their servers up to 20 times per day for individual case types.
Yeah, for some of the less tech savvy people out there, myself included, can you give us just the high level overview of what that means, right? Lawfully is connected to the USCIS API, but what does that mean, and how does it allow you guys to access the data so quickly?
So USCIS is obviously processing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cases on any given day. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of individuals logging into the My USCIS case status online page to track their cases.
Right.
And there are lags right there in many cases. And there are sometimes technical issues that the government has. With the API, it's not uncommon for us to have updates on a case a few hours before it's even on the My USCIS case status online page because of that API that we have, because we're pinging the servers so frequently throughout the day for each individual case.
That's incredible. So an investor could actually see an update on Lawfully before they'd even be able to find it necessarily, or perhaps on the USCIS case search.
Yeah, there's certainly instances where there's a short delay between what the update they got on Lawfully, and then a few hours later they see, oh, my case has been approved on the My USCIS page.
That's amazing. Awesome. Okay, we'll move on here. So we've already covered a lot of this, but of course the Lawfully system is secure, and it's going to track kind of any filing that you input with your receipt notice. It's continuous, ongoing. EB5AN investors can use it to track your I-526E, your 485. Later down the road, you can use it to track your I-829. You'll receive, as an investor, automatic email notifications from Lawfully as soon as that case status update appears, which, as Finn described, could potentially even be before it ends up on the main USCIS check. And it just reduces the need to constantly be on the website, plugging in your receipt notice, copy pasting, and checking it over and over again. So kind of to wrap up, Finn, what would you say are just a few of the biggest benefits that an EB5 investor will enjoy on now that they have access to this Lawfully platform?
I think this slide right here is capturing it really well, and for folks who are watching, they can read through it. And really, what I would say is that I've worked with immigrants my entire career, and the most stressful part of the process is when it feels like there's nothing that individual can do to help determine the outcome of their case, and that's during the government processing stage. And for a very, very long time, it has been the black hole of the immigration process, where individuals really don't feel like they can get any information on what's happening with their case. And that's the core problem that Lawfully has been working every day for 6, 7 years now to try and solve, is to give more transparency and a little bit more peace of mind to individuals who are waiting for their cases to process with USCIS, which unfortunately these days can oftentimes take many months, even years in some instances. And we want to be able to provide just more relief and more understanding and more transparency into that very, very stressful process. And then hopefully be one of the, be the first notification you get when you find out the good news that your case was approved.
Yeah, that's always the good part. And of course, we just want to touch again on the fact that this is really to just stay up to date and apprised of what's happening with these cases. But any action or advice needed on the actual case itself should be directed to individual immigration attorneys. But it can definitely be helpful if maybe your case is pending for longer than others, to at least keep investors aware of that fact so that they can discuss potential options with their attorneys.
Thanks, Jake. That's the one last thing I should have mentioned is one of the key benefits of tracking your case in Lawfully is we can track whether or not the case is inside or outside of normal processing times. And in many instances, if a case is outside of normal processing times, there is action that your attorney can take on your behalf to help move that case forward more efficiently with the government. And that's something that in the past has had to be tracked manually. And with Lawfully, we have automatic updates, automatic reminders of when cases potentially do fall outside of normal processing times, and an action could be taken to remediate that.
And that's incredible, because in my understanding, Lawfully is not basing those timelines on what's maybe posted on the USCIS website, or maybe what people recognize as industry standards, but you're actually getting those timelines from millions and millions of cases that Lawfully is tracking directly. Is that right?
Yeah, it's twofold. We are integrated in with the official USCIS case processing times and what they post and what they deem as a reasonable processing time. We also are and have our we also are very well aware and have our app updated with the regulations around processing times, because for certain case types there are rules for how long cases are allowed to take. And then lastly, like you said, because of the number of cases that we track on a monthly basis, we're supporting anywhere between 250,000 and 400,000 individuals track their cases in our platform for over 100 different case types. We're able to see in real time what the processing trends are at USCIS and how they change. And unfortunately, policy and sort of internal government operations do have a massive impact on processing trends at USCIS, and they're a little bit slow in terms of releasing publicly available data on that information, whereas we're tracking it all the time in real time at Lawfully.
Incredible. A very, very, very valuable service, Ben, and we're looking forward to providing it to more and more investors through a partnership here. So Finn, thanks so much for all the information and for the detailed look into how the platform works and everything that investors can expect to get through Lawfully when they join an EB5AN project. And we're just committed to continuing to support those investors. So this will happen automatically for any EB5AN investor once we get your I-526E receipt notice from you or your attorney, or a 485 receipt notice, whatever the case may be, will be added to Lawfully's system so that you can receive those critical updates. And of course, it's secure, but also optional. So investors are free to opt out at any time, and it's being provided at no additional cost. So Finn, thank you so much for joining us. I will quickly just touch on some of the rural and urban EB5 projects that EB5AN has available today. This information is available on our website, and anyone who's interested in learning more can feel free to reach out to our team. But as you can see on the screen, we have a number of high quality I-956F approved rural and urban TEA projects, offering short investment durations and very strong investment collateral. So again, please reach out to the EB5AN team if you'd like to learn more about these projects. And Finn, thanks for joining us today, and we're looking forward to continuing to work together.
Jake, thanks so much. Likewise, really happy to be partnered up with EB5AN, and you guys are doing really, really amazing work for the investors that you support. So really happy about it, and hope you have a great holiday season ahead.
You too. And thanks everybody for taking the time to join the webinar today.